I'd like to welcome everyone to the 113th meeting of the 7th Council of Municipality of South Dundas. We are meeting in chambers tonight, but a limited amount limited to just council, and Councillor Wells is not with us this evening, and limited amount of staff, and the rest are all virtual. We do have a new staff member with us tonight, and I'd like to welcome Pulak Malak to South Dundas. I hope I didn't mispronounce her name too badly, but she's our new deputy clerk, and I certainly welcome her, and she is in our meeting tonight observing the proceedings. So we've already had our closed session, so confirmation of agenda. Is there any additions, deletions, or amendments tonight, Madam Clerk?
There is, Mr. Mayor. We will be pulling and deferring item 8A and 9J to the February 28th council meeting, as well as 10B, E, and I, moving those three consent items to discussion, please.
Okay. Is there anything from any member of council? Additions, deletions, amendments? Okay, seeing none. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof this evening? Not hearing anything, but I, as mayor, do have two items that I will declare a conflict on tonight. The subject matter are for agenda item 6A, which is a zoning bylaw amendment during the public meeting, and 9D, which is bylaw proposed bylaw 2022-16, which is a zoning bylaw amendment in particular to that request. Due to the fact that I am a shareholder of a corporation that has a signed offer to purchase up for the vacant land that is part of that proposal. At that time, I will allow Deputy Mayor Gardner to take over the meeting. If there's nothing else, the adoption of minutes from January 5th, 2022 and January 18th, 2022, January 20th, January 24th, and February 2nd meetings of council.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that the minutes of the 107th special and in-camera meetings, 108th regular and in-camera meetings, 109th special meeting, 110th special meeting, 111th regular and in-camera meetings, and 112th special and in-camera meetings of council be adopted as circulated.
Any discussion on any of those minutes? Seeing none, I'll hear the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Public meeting opening, please.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that the public meeting to consider two zoning bylaw amendments be opened at 6:09 p.m.
All heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. So before we go into tonight's public meeting, I have a statement to read. I now declare the public meeting held by the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas under Section 34 of the Planning Act to be open. There are two zoning amendment applications being considered. First one is zoning bylaw amendment for vacant land, County Road 31, Part Lot 30, Concession 7. The second one is zoning bylaw amendment for 11249, 11303, and 11313 Snowbird Road, which is part of lots 13 to 18 on concession 8. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of or contrary to either of the proposed zoning bylaw amendments will be given the opportunity to do so. Before you make a presentation, I would ask that you provide your name and address. I am required by the Planning Act to advise you that if you do not make an oral presentation tonight or a written submission before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is adopted by municipal council, or the official plan amendment is adopted by the county council, you will not be entitled to appeal the decision to the local planning appeal tribunal, or may you be added as a party to any hearing of an appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal. If you wish to make an oral submission to one of the applications this evening, we ask that you raise your hand and proceed with your comments when called upon to speak. I will now ask our planning consultant, Peter Young, to provide a brief overview for each application, Following the overview for each file, we will open the floor to anyone wishing to make oral presentation on the specific application. And with that, I will turn the meeting over to Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor Byveld. Okay, so Peter?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Gardner. The first application that we're looking at on the agenda here is the rezoning at Road 31, County Road 7, and Barkley Road. It's a rezoning that's residence that's surplus to a farm that's being consolidated with other lands. So under the provincial policy statement, a farmer can separate approximately 1 or 2 acres, the house, well, septic, and any accessory buildings, and then keep it as a residential use. Then the remaining farmland has to be rezoned to prohibit residential development. In this case, there's also an existing zoning that applies for, I believe it's bedrock resources, so that's also included in the zoning bylaw. So the zoning would prohibit residential uses and prohibit any uses that would detract from future mineral aggregate use if that was proposed. But if it was just used for farmland, they'd be able to use it for farming under this bylaw. And I can go to the next one, if that's okay, Deputy Mayor.
I think it might be easier if we, oh, yeah, sure. That works.
Oh. So the next one is on Snowbird Road. It's for a surplus dwelling. And again, it's this one is a bit of a larger lot because the lot's set further back, but the lot's shaped in a way that minimizes the loss of prime agricultural land. In the report, you'll see there's a map on page 2, just showing what the property looks like. Most of the property in this case is in the floodplain, but we do have the same conditions that prohibit future or any new residential uses on the retained lot. And both these are subject to a consent application with United Counties. So these are both for both the applications being considered by council tonight. They're conditions of the severance approval. And we have no public comments or agency comments opposed to either application. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. I guess we close the public meeting unless we go around to council. Yeah.
No, I have no comments.
Nope, good with both of them.
Okay, so I guess that, I guess we close the public meeting at 6:14.
I can do an official motion. Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that the public meeting to consider 2 zoning bylaw amendments be closed at 6:15 p.m.
Opposed of any, motion carries. Thank you, Peter, for now. So we have no delegations, petitions tonight, so we'll move into action requests, and we'll go to action request 8B, which is PE 2022-02, proposed amendment to zoning bylaw, cannabis production facility, 45 Allison Avenue, Morrisburg. Motion, please.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas refuse the application for rezoning at 45 Allison Avenue, Morrisburg as submitted.
Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you, Mayor Byvelds and Council. So as noted in the report, this is an application to reduce the setback for a cannabis production facility from a sensitive land use. It's at 45 Allison Avenue in Morrisburg in the industrial park on the east side of the village. It's reusing an existing building. There's a number of institutional, commercial, industrial uses surrounding, as well as residential to the west and recreational. In our report, we do discuss some of the policies that council would be considering in terms of promoting growth and reuse of existing buildings, and also take into account land use compatibility to ensure that major facilities and industrial land uses our plan to minimize impacts, including odor on sensitive land uses. There's similar policies in the county official plan on both sides in terms of protection of industrial areas from encroachment and protection of residential areas and sensitive land uses from the impacts of odors, noise, and other types of industrial impacts. In the report, we also go through the zoning bylaw, what the provisions are under the cannabis production facilities, definitions, and setbacks. And in particular, in discussion, we go through a discussion of the sensitive land uses. In particular, we heard a lot of comments from the public. Later on the report, we had a petition received with 102 people opposed. There were written comments from the Macintosh Country Inn and in particular, Dundas Community Living immediately adjacent to the site sent a letter that they believe, based on the definition of a sensitive land use and the population that they're serving, that should also be included. So it would be a less than a 240 meter setback. We also received a number of comments from residents and from industries in the area opposed to the application. So following that public meeting in November, we did discuss with the proponent submitting an odor control study, and that was something they're looking at, and that they would potentially submit. And it's also no other report at this time. There's not a bylaw to potentially enforce that. But based on the current application as it stands and all the information that's been submitted to date with the application, we would recommend that council refuse the application because it does not, it's not consistent with the provincial policy statement. It does not conform to the county official plan, and it would not meet the goals that the municipality set forth when they passed bylaw 2021-11 to put into place cannabis production facilities. Currently, we don't have the applicant hasn't provided a demonstration of why a reduction in the required setback should not be permitted. We did notify the applicant this recommendation was coming forward last week, and we have not had a response on this particular application. Thank you, Mayor Bylaws and Council.
Okay, so council, just a note back to council, concentrate on the first one, on any comments, questions, concerns on the 45 Allison. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor. You know, I reviewed all the information. Obviously, the public meeting was part of that. I'm not willing to change our setbacks, and I recognize the sensitive use is just that. It's sensitive use surrounding that area. So I've heard and prepared to raise my hand to not support it, to support it, but to not support this facility on Allison Avenue.
Councillor Lewis.
I have to agree with Deputy Mayor Gardner. We made the bylaw last February, and I believe it is a good bylaw that council and staff has set forth. And I'm not about to change at this time the 300 meters myself. I think that is a very sufficient number and locations where cannabis is going to be grown. So I will support the municipal planner consultant on this one.
Councilor Mellon.
Yep, 300 meters as far as I'm concerned, unless they come to the 300 meter setbacks, and I realize that's not how the game works, but I wouldn't even bring it to Peter to review, or 300 meters. We went through enough of that crap before, so if it doesn't meet 300 meters, as far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't. It's a non-starter. And the sensitive land use issues. Yeah, so I totally agree with recommendation here in the report tonight, Mayor Bylaws.
Okay, and I agree with council. We struggle with where we need to put these setbacks. I think they're as fair as we can be for now. And we certainly did hear from a significant amount of the public at that time, not only those who live near the area, but also work near the area. So I agree with them during that meeting, and I agree with them now. So I'm certainly not going to support this application at this time. Anything further on this? See none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. We'll move on to PE 2022-03, proposed amendment to zoning bylaw, cannabis production facility at 13373 County Road 2. Motion, please.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas refuse the application for rezoning at 13373 County Road 2, Riverside Heights as submitted.
Peter, again.
Thank you, Mayor, Bylaws, and Council. So this is an application for a cannabis production facility on County Road 2. It's a different policy context, and as the mayor said, a different application. In this case, the reduction proposed is from 300 meters to 180 meters on one side of the building, and from 300 meters to 225 meters on the other side of the building. In this case, the applicant is hoping to use an existing building that's on the highway commercial portion. The bylaw for highway commercial doesn't permit, the highway commercial zone doesn't permit a cannabis processing facility. So the other proposal in this application is to add cannabis processing facility to the highway commercial portion so that they can reuse the existing building. The rural zone on the property would permit cannabis production facility, but there's no buildings in that portion of the property. The context in here is there's an existing commercial building formerly used Auto Wonderland. The lot is fairly large, about almost 30 acres. The north side of County Road 2, as council is aware, there's rural residential tourism uses. St. Lawrence Parks Commission owns land to the south, and there's motel immediately beside the property. As council is aware, there's a planning report that was submitted and attached to this agenda, provides additional details. In terms of the provincial policy statements, there's definitely encouragement to encourage the rural economy, to reuse existing buildings, to promote rural settlement areas, which is this is right beside a rural settlement area, and also to promote other uses such as tourism and economic opportunities, but they need to be compatible with the rural landscape and sustained by rural service levels. And the PPS that talks about as well those major facilities and sensitive land uses, and ensuring compatibility between sensitive land uses and industrial from noise, odor, and contaminants. This is in the rural district, which does allow for cannabis facilities subject to the policies in the plan. And council does allow in the rural zone as of right, as long as a number of setbacks are met. Again, in the policies, it talks about development may be permitted within influence area if there's municipalities satisfied by technical study or evidence that adverse effects can be mitigated or eliminated. If a conversion of a use occurs, things like water and compatibility need to be considered. And there's a number of policies that require a zoning amendment. Again, the rural zone does permit cannabis production facilities subject to the setbacks in the bylaw. Highway commercial portion does not. So in the report, in the discussion section, definitely reusing commercial buildings is encouraged. Employment uses are encouraged, but compatibility is definitely mentioned in many of the policies that council would be considering. In this case, again, in the D-series guidelines, odor is one of the hardest contaminants to potentially control. So it's important that that this is reviewed prior to to any approvals. At this time, we've also had comments from the St. Lawrence Parks Commission about their outdoor recreational uses and the impact on that. And in particular for the rural district, in the report, we go through a number of policies that are used when any industrial use is going in the rural area. In the past, you would need approval, an official plan approval, going to county council to have an industrial use. That was changed in the rural areas. That was changed. Now it's a zoning decision by the township, but there are a number of criterias that are outlined, and based on the information we've received to date, we don't believe the application meets those criteria. It does meet some of them, but not all of them. And we did receive a number of letters raising concerns with the proposal, including from the St. Lawrence Parks Commission and several people that turned up at the public meeting against, as well as the applicant who turned out in favor and discussed some of the benefits of the application. We did, sorry, my screen just moved here. Following the public meeting, we did discuss potentially looking at odor control and other issues. We haven't received any written correspondence or any studies or follow-up to date. We did, so based on the application as it stands, we believe it doesn't meet the consistency test for the official plan, for the PPS, doesn't conform to the official plan, and they haven't demonstrated that any impacts can be mitigated. We did notify the applicant of this report coming forward, and they did, they do have the right to appeal if they disagree with the decision. So that's a recommendation to refuse the application. Hereby votes. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go the other way. Councilor Mellon, any comments, questions, concerns?
300 meters. You don't get her, you don't have her, you don't get her. I'm done.
I have no questions. I agree with the planner.
The Mayor?
I'm the same. I will say that I during this whole the process of these things, I wish the investors would do their homework and recognize the setbacks put into place before creating such chaos. But yeah, I have nothing more to add than that.
Okay. Well, what I will add is that, I agree with Councilor Mellon's statement. We put the 300 meters in, and, we can debate if that's far enough or not, but that's a minimum, and I think it still applies today. The location of this proposed facility certainly conflicts with many other uses that are already well established. The hotel, the restaurant, or the drive-in restaurant that's just down the road, the parks. It's just not an area that you'd want to put a facility that could cause issues and concerns down the road. So I agree with the planner on all statements. And we did have a very good contingent of people that had some challenges with it that night we had it, the public meetings on this one and along with the other one. There's nothing else from council. We've all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Okay, thanks for now, Peter. We'll move on to FES 2022-01, the 2022 PPE Capital.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas authorize the Director of Fire and Emergency Services to proceed with the capital PPE purchase as outlined in Report FES 2022-01 and approved in the 2022 budget.
Chief, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So this report you have in front of you tonight is just to clean up and get our PPE ordered that we brought to your attention during the 2022 budget discussions. It's all pretty straightforward. Everything came in actually under the numbers that I had quoted in the report at budget time, so I'm very happy with that. Just in the table, I will point out a correction under auto extrication gloves. It should be 65, not 10 on page 39. I apologize for that mistake. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at this time.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Gardner, comments, questions, concerns?
No questions, Mayor.
Councillor Lewis?
No questions, Mayor.
No,
Councillor
I'm glad
Mellon?
to see we're getting some of that money spent from the 2022 budget. Let's get her going.
Okay, with that, all heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Next one, CAO 2022-01, Consolidated Linear Infrastructure Applications for the MECP.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas authorize sole sourcing to Ontario Clean Water Agency to proceed with works required to complete this consolidated linear infrastructure application before the deadline date of April 30th, 2022 for a contracted price of $12,700 plus HST.
Shannon?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So back in mid-2021, the MECP, under a consultation period, went ahead with a consolidated linear infrastructure permission approach. During that timeline, they were looking for feedback and comments from local municipalities. Back late 2021, they did approve going through a different approach that would consolidate current ECAs when it came to storm sewer as well as stormwater management. So currently right now the municipality probably has anywhere from 20 to 30 ECAs, whether it's from storm sewer or from sewers. This process right now, working with Aqua, would consolidate so that the municipality would have one ECA when it comes to stormwater and one ECA when it comes to sewer. So when we look at doing any alterations or rehab work or any new infrastructure, it would reduce the amount of time for applications to the ministry. Two examples that come to mind are the Ontario street reconstruction, where we had to apply for an ECA. It took about 3 or 4 months to get approval, as well as the Ross video with the sewer expansion there. We actually just received, I think, approval for the ECA 2 months ago. So this is supposed to streamline how things are done moving forward when it comes to any sort of projects. And based on the fact that Aqua does all of our data for our water and wastewater treatment plants, we thought it would be the best to sole source this to them. In addition, the deadline for this application is February 18th. We did receive permission from MECP to extend it to April 30th. That allows Aqua the time to get this into their schedule. They are doing actually a couple other municipalities, one to the north ahead of us, and we'd like to proceed and give them the approval to go ahead with this. So if council has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, comments, questions, concerns? Councillor Mellon?
Well, actually, I guess, when you read the report and as Shannon or, it gets us more shovel ready quicker. And, sometimes you miss out on things. So I think it's money well spent. So I can go along with it, Mayor Bylaws.
Councillor Lewis?
Yes, I think it's money well spent also. So I don't have an issue with this.
Deputy Mayor?
I don't have an issue with it either.
Okay, all heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, CAO 2022-02, Matilda Transfer Station Preliminary Design.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas approve the services of WSP Consulting with an upset limit of $50,000 plus HST for the Matilda Transfer Station Preliminary Design.
Shannon?
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. So as we transition to looking at our transfer station for Matilda Landfill, I have in front of Council tonight the next step in getting to a point where we can look at tendering or look at doing some development. So WSP has put together a plan that, as indicated, will be coming back to Council in early March through a committee of the whole. They'll be looking at two different options, one option being the high-level retaining wall with separate bins, as well as just the on-the-ground placement of bins as well. So they'll look at costing as well as a feasibility study. Based on which direction council wants to go, we'll determine whether or not we need to do a geotechnical assessment, which is estimated about $20,000. So right now we're saying 50, which is the worst case scenario. If we do not have to do a geotechnical assessment, then that amount would be reduced by $20,000 to $30,000. So in our 2022 budget, we did allocate funds to get to that next step. And I said this will just get us in a better position to move forward on the transfer station from Matilda landfill. So if council has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Comments, questions, sir? Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I now that things are kind of being lifted, weren't we supposed to do a field trip to some of the locations?
So through you, Mayor. So I am working right now on 2 locations, one
Okay.
being closest to Augusta. So once I have that, that will be part of the whole entire process as well
Okay.
too. Yep.
Okay, because for myself, I mean, they're pictured here.
Yes.
The picture does speak 1,000 words, but I definitely would like to see them in person.
Absolutely.
With somebody who can maybe answer some questions. So, okay.
Yep.
Okay, that was my only question.
Councillor Lewis?
That was a question that I had also, but I think that we've had very lengthy discussions on what road we were going to go down, and I do believe this is the best way to go. So other than that, I have no questions.
Councillor Mellon?
I gotta agree with Deputy Mayor Gardner. I'm a more visual person than anything. I mean, it's money that needs to be spent, in my opinion. We have worked long and hard in our landfill and how we're going to handle our landfill going forward. And this is not something that, let's face it, this is 20, 30 year projections ahead. So we want to make sure we do it right the first time. And we have all the, yeah. And the one thing I gotta give Shannon credit for, we're getting a Class B estimate.
You got to pay for it though.
I don't care. It'll save us money in the
Yes.
long run instead of getting a Class D and it's $60,000 over budget and then you go back and no, I like that. We gotta do that more often. I'm good with it, Mayor Bylaws.
So I take it you like the size of Brinston Park better than the Sky Dome then for estimates, the ballpark figure? Understood, I understand. It's always nice to have numbers that are a lot closer to the real number than something that doesn't really make a lot of sense, so. Yeah, I know that council's talked a lot about what we're gonna do with landfills, and it was something that was on our plate right from the start, and much as we had to close one in a hurry, we are doing the best we can with Matilda, and we hopefully can finish up the minor expansion, but we have to look forward. The plan has to be in place that when this one fills up, or even before, that we have somewhere else to deal with our garbage and refuge in South Dundas. So this is a start, long way journey, I suspect, by the time we get done. If there's nothing else, all heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you. Next one is CS 2022-03, revised Boathouse license agreement.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that council approve the revised Boathouse license agreement and authorize staff to proceed with execution of the revised agreement with each of the respective boathouse owners.
Go ahead, Leslie.
Sure. So as you know, the municipality has a longstanding agreement with OPG, and during budget discussions this year, it was discussed not only about the agreement with OPG, but also doing some housekeeping revisions to the boathouse agreement itself. So that updated draft was brought forward to the February 2nd Committee of the Whole meeting for discussion and deliberation. And a few drafts were worked through in consultation with Mayor Bylaws, and I think we have a draft now that everyone was satisfied with as per the Committee of the Whole meeting. So we were looking for council approval to proceed with that, and upon approval, what we would do is communicate with each of the 26 boathouse owners and execute a new lease agreement with each prior to them taking, I guess, visiting their boathouse this spring and summer.
Okay. Comments, questions, concerns? Councilor Mellon, start.
No, I mean, this is something, I guess, over the years, it sort of slipped through the cracks a little bit, I guess. And I mean, all we're asking is that, they have the proper insurance, and to protect the municipality, because let's face it, we're renting this land or leasing this land from OPG. And so it's as far as I'm concerned, a totally workable license agreement with the boathouse owners and the municipality. So I think it's, It's not earth-shattering difference, it's just something that we need to get done.
Councillor Lewis.
Questions, I'm happy with the way it looks.
Deputy Mayor?
No issues.
Okay. Just a question, Madam Clerk. How much time are you going to allow the boathouse owners to review the new agreement and get it signed and brought back in?
We were thinking 30 days would be fair. Upon submission, was send a proper cover letter explaining the rationale for the updates and the rationale for the revised execution of a new lease. And then we have the 10-day stipulation to provide the insurance requirements as well. So unless you would like something different, we were planning to.
No, I think that's a good start. I think,
Okay.
you know, it is something new, as Councilor Mellon has alluded to. It's something that hasn't been reviewed and probably wasn't even reviewed when South Dundas started. It was just a leftover from the old village of Iroquois, which is okay. But you know, the requirement for a few things in there, which are nothing serious, but the insurance is something that, you know, we all feel is important, and we hope that they feel it's important too. You know, as much as Councillor Mellon has alluded to the fact that it protects South Dundas, it actually protects them more than it does South Dundas, because my read of the situation is that there's a few that don't have this type of insurance, and all it takes is one incident to cause some major issues. And I know that some of those boathouse owners have a few pennies in their pocket and own other corporations that they really don't want to lose, and the matter of having the proper insurance on proper liability insurance on what they operate is a smart investment. So hopefully it works out. If it not, then we'll see where it goes. But I agree with your recommendation at this time.
Okay.
Anything further, any members of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor, opposed, if any, motion carries. Excuse me. So we'll go into bylaws. First one is 2022-13, staff appointment, deputy clerk.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that bylaw number 2022-13, being a bylaw to appoint a deputy clerk for the municipality of South Dundas, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Go ahead.
So as you know, in the fall of 2021, council authorized an amendment to the organizational structure, resulting in the addition of a deputy clerk position. So the position was advertised, and interviews took place in December, and I'm pleased to introduce this evening, as the mayor already alluded to earlier this evening, that Palak Mehta has joined us effective last Monday. So we are very pleased to have her on board.
Thank you. Comments?
Welcome, 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 welcome.
Thank you for the warm welcoming.
Councillor Lewis?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you,
Hi.
That's just Councillor Mellon. You'll get used to him after a while. We'll warn you, though, if you get him excited, he can get real excited too. And you'll meet Councillor Wells when he gets the opportunity to come back. If there's no further concerns, all heard the motion. Those in favor, opposed, if any, motion carries. Next one, 2022-14, interim tax levy.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that bylaw number 2022-14, being a bylaw to provide an interim tax levy for 2022, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Lachlan, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, this is pretty much a housekeeping item done every year. Allows us to levy for the interim tax taxes, which will be due on March 31st, before the final budget or final taxation is set. So it's a housekeeping issue. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm glad to answer.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns, any members of council on this? All heard the motion. Those in favor, opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you, Lachlan. Next one is 2022-15, OPG lease agreement for the Iroquois Marina lands.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that bylaw number 2022-15, being a bylaw to authorize execution of a lease agreement with OPG to operate the Iroquois Marina in the municipality of South Dundas, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Go ahead.
So as you know, since 2016, the municipality has had an agreement to operate the Iroquois Marina on lands owned by the Ontario Power Generation. This agreement has been renewed most recently in 2017, however expired on 2021. And then during budget deliberations, Council had discussed the financial operations of the Iroquois Marina and furthered those discussions at the February 2nd Committee of the Whole meeting. At that time, a decision was made to bring forward a recommendation to continue authorization and renew the lease effective immediately.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions, concerns from members of council at this time? All heard the motion. Those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you. I'm going to turn this bylaw over to the Deputy Mayor, please.
So bylaw 2022-16, the zoning bylaw amendment, vacant land, County Road 31. Clerk?
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2022-16, being a bylaw to rezone a vacant parcel of land located on County Road 31, more specifically known as part of Lot 30, Concession 7, from agricultural special exception A28 and agricultural special exception A32 to agricultural special exception A78, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Thanks, Madam Clerk. Any discussion, Councillor Mellon?
Nope, it's sort of what we do.
Councillor Lewis?
No, I have no questions, no concerns on this one.
Okay, you've both heard the motion. On favor? There you go. Carried.
Next one, 2022-17, zoning bylaw amendment for Snowboard Road.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2022-17, being a bylaw to rezone the subject property to address the less than minimum lot frontage on the severed portion of consent application number B-18321 and prohibit new and or additional residential units on the retained lands of consent number B-18321, special exception A78, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Peter, anything further on this one?
No, Mr. Mayor, thanks.
Okay, just saying it never made it into our agenda. I don't see it. But anyway, as council knows, it was part of the zoning bylaw amendment that was brought forth in the public meeting. Is there any comments, questions, concerns on it? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Next one is 2022-18, part lot control bylaw for 8385 Main Street, Morrisburg.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2022-18, being a bylaw to lift part lot control for 83 to 85 Main Street, Morrisburg, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Peter?
Thank you, Mayor. This bylaw would potentially split two shops in the Morrisburg Plaza that have merged in title. The using part lot control, since these have existed for many years, would be quicker and more efficient than the severance. And just one note in the report, we did only use a legal description based on the recommendation from the solicitor from the applicant. But if that's not accepted by land registry, we would have to come back with a separate bylaw with a reference plan, but hopefully this will get approved by land registry and they won't have to spend money on a survey.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you, Peter. Next bylaw, 2022-19, agreement of purchase and sale pending. Go ahead.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2022-19, being a bylaw to approve the purchase agreement between Safave Home Furnishings Limited and the municipality of South Dundas for 25.71 acres of property in the Morrisburg Industrial Park, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Rob, go ahead, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have before you a bylaw to pass a purchase and sale agreement for, as noted, 25.71 acres of land in the Morrisburg Industrial Park with Sophia Home Furnishings Limited, located on Long Island, New York. It's an American company that's looking at making a forte into the Canadian market. They sell high-end home furnishings, and certainly would be a great addition to our business community. Currently, they're looking at building an initial warehouse space that would be 100,000 square feet, with the option of moving up to 500,000 square feet. Initial jobs attributed to the 100,000 square feet facility would be a minimum of 50, and with plans looking at going up to a whole 500,000 square feet, looking at probably about 150 by the time things would be said and done. So this is for council's consideration. Been working with this company for the last 6 months, and I know we've had a number of communications back and forth, and we've got the agreement here for council's consideration.
Thank you. Comments, questions, concerns, Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Mayor. I'm excited about this one. I think I'm optimistic. It will be hopefully the boost in the arm that we need, especially in Morseburg. And I think it's fabulous to have a company that is an American company that is choosing South Dundas to start its footprint in Canada. So I think it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to see the building go up.
Councillor Lewis?
I have to agree with every word Deputy Mayor Gardner said. It's good to see. It's nice to see that we have sold the remaining property. So no, I'm happy.
Councillor Mellon?
I got to echo my colleagues' comments, and I want to, I think, give kudos to staff and to this council for making sure that we attracted a potentially very large industry in the South Dundas, and as far as I'm concerned, it's like they say at the auction sale, sold.
Since I have to follow that up, Councillor Mellon, I will say this. It's good that, and I thank Rob for seeking out this business. As much as they are new to South Dundas, they're certainly not new to the North American market from what I hear. The vision of that land when we started this whole process of opening that road up back, I think it was in 2007 when the council today looked at plans of putting the road in and doing that, and a lot of us were head scratching and wondering, we're going to spend upwards of $1 million or more to do something and have land that's for sale. Nobody wants to buy it, but we finally hit the day that the payoff has come back, and certainly a good feeling to all of us. I know it doesn't make up for what we're potentially losing here at the old Beavers plant, but we are doing our best in South Dundas. I give Rob a lot of credit to make sure that he gets other businesses to South Dundas. We have the expansion of Ross Video and Iroquois. Lots of good news in South Dundas. I think, between council and staff, we've certainly progressed as best we can. Some people call it luck, some people call it skill, but I think it was a combination of both that got us to where we are today. And a good thing, good news story to put in the paper this week, no doubt about it. If there's nothing else, I'll hear the motion. Those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you. Next bylaw is 2022-20, property standards.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that bylaw number 2022-20, being a bylaw to enact a property standards bylaw for the municipality of South Dundas, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Andrew, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much for your time. Quick background on the property standards bylaw. During a committee of the whole meeting in November, staff presented council with an updated draft property standards bylaw for discussion. This updated version is a result of those discussions and the direction that was provided to us at the committee of the whole meetings. Property standards bylaw has been arranged to set a minimum standard to ensure that the property owners maintain their properties These standards are put in place to protect the health and safety of occupants, tenants, and as well as the general public. Property standards addresses the physical building and the lands around the property. These provisions are provincial legislation, and we will be doing an enforcement through the Ontario Building Code to protect owners and tenants alike. Inspectors will be working with the parties to try to come to an agreement on any potential complaint prior to making any more aggressive action. All considerations are based on life safety and the occupants and the public. Should a property not adversely affect neighboring properties, that would not be an issue. There is a right of refusal for tenants and owners to not permit us into a dwelling at initial complaint. We are permitted to enter a building or enter into private property with a valid reason, this of course being a complaint. And of course we will be following the complaints and procedures that we have under Municipal Policy 317. We will also be following our codes of conduct and personal policy for any of these concerns regarding enforcement. As per the meeting in November 1st, we've had brought forward this to council review by Council for Property Standards Committee. Each specific complaint will have an inspection and therefore will have photographs included and such. If you have any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, concerns? Councilor Mellon?
No, Mayor Bylaws, I mean, we went around this a couple times, and I mean, it's an all-encompassing document, I guess, if you look at it. But as Andrew alluded to, and I think that's the most important part of it, is it gives us the tools to protect the tenants, protect the residents, the owners too. But as he mentioned, you know, it gives us some bite to go on to it, but it also allows our staff to work with them to try and resolve this without, you know, jumping into this, you know, feet first and, you know, but it's like I say, it's quite an encompassing document, but I think it gives us the ability to, when it's necessary, to enforce it and protect the residents and tenants and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm in favor of it.
Councilor Lewis?
No, I have no questions. I did read the document. Believe it or not, I read it twice. It's a very good document. Now we have a foot to stand on. I think the other property standard was a little maybe outdated and it needed some work. And I think he did a good job on this one. Thank you.
Yep, Mayor?
We've had a couple of lengthy discussions on this. It looks good. It will be interesting to see if there's if people appeal it, to deal with the committee, that type of thing. But no, I'm good. I'm good, and it's nice to see it being passed. So.
Okay. And as council alluded to, we've had 2 go-arounds. I think the key to this one is some common sense use of it. And the other key is it does have the Property Standards Committee, which council decided that it would be council, at least for this term. Next term can figure out if they want to continue on, but it allows us to make that final decision and allow those who feel it wasn't applied fairly that we could see it in our vision, and since we are the community representatives, then we can do so in a common sense manner. So not sure if there's anything further we need to do from a logistics legal point of view, but if so, then staff can deal with that later, but that's just part of this bylaw. Anything further from any members of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Next one, 2022-21, Dutch Meadows Subdivision Agreement Amendment.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2022-21, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2021-71, Dutch Meadows Subdivision Agreement with Swank Construction, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Shannon?
So this amendment is actually due to some good news from Swank subdivision. They're looking for another amendment to the subdivision agreement. Council will recall back in October, due to the demand, they were looking for us to increase up to 5 units. In conversation with Ron Swank about a week and a half ago, there is a demand for more, and he's looking for an additional 3 units to be approved as a temporary permit under council's direction. So if council has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
And just to clarify, Shannon, none of these homes will have occupancy permits till we take over the roadway and agree
Correct.
that everything's up to our standards.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council on this? Okay, one at a time. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilor Mellon.
Okay, when we get the home sold, is this a revolving temporary permit, like, so that they can keep moving 8 at a time, and then when they get one sold, then they can bring another one in? Is that how these things work?
No, it's a one-time deal just to get
One-time
things
deal?
moving forward, correct.
Once we approve the road and take over the well, we wouldn't take over the subdivision, but approve the works,
Yep.
then they're on their own. They can start doing as many as they want.
Okay, all right,
Right now, they can't sell them.
yeah, I can't.
They can't get the occupancy permit.
Well, I
Would that
thought-
be a
okay.
fair way of saying
I was
it?
thinking that if this is a revolving thing, that they want to come back after they get 5 of those sold and gone, they come back for another 5
No.
temporary, but no, okay, I understand how you're working it now. I'm good with it, yeah, great, good for them.
Councilor Lewis, anything?
Get the hammer and saw.
As long as no one takes them, I guess.
No, my favorite type of amendment. More people, more houses. This is great.
That's right. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and put the roadblocks up. If they wanna build more homes and, you know, it is subject to us accepting the roadway, and I'm sure that that's not probably gonna be an issue, but don't wanna presuppose it, but certainly allow them to build some more, and when we get going, they'll be ready to roll. So, we're good.
Awesome.
If there's nothing else, all heard the motion. Those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Consent agenda, please.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that all items listed under general consent section of the agenda be adopted as presented, save and except for 10B, E, and I, that be moved to discussion items.
Okay, so tonight, we had a correspondence from Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. We also had some from Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. We had minutes from the Economic Development Advisory Committee. We had an update from our fleet repairs, which is still there, but that's as far as I'm going to go tonight. We have an update on our Parks and Recreation Master Plan, which is going extremely well for public input. And we also have a key information report in the arena and programming update. All heard the motion. Those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Boards, committees, discussion items. We did not have a county council meeting. We have one next Tuesday. We will also have a special county council meeting on the 28th concerning the now needs roads and spending the extra Ontario Community Infrastructure Funds that the county's received. So no information on that whatsoever. You can talk about the rural schools podium. That's not part of my bevy, but it's certainly yours. You go for it. You certainly.
Thanks, Mayor.
I did participate and listen and learn. So.
Did you learn? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So the Rural School Symposium was February 3rd. It's still available on YouTube, on the county's YouTube channel. I would suggest that folks watch it. We will be moving forward. Hopefully, the colleagues at the council table will approve our next steps. It was well attended, good thorough discussion. Had a lot of feedback from folks that have a hard time focusing for 3 hours, and they said it did keep their attention, so that was good. Lots of great discussion, and the highlight was Dr. Paul Bennett, who at the end gave us a lot of food for thought. And there's lots of things that municipalities can do to make this mark, have a discussion about education, not feel like it's not their place to have the discussion, because the impacts are clear. what happens when a school closure. So lots of stuff. I would encourage everybody to have a look and see, because we may or may not be on the chopping block next time, but there definitely will be a chopping block very soon. So it's important. That was one of the keys that Dr. Bennett said was, don't wait until you hear that the school is closing. There's actually work that needs to be done ahead of time. So it was that was good. Thanks,
Okay,
Mayor.
I will comment that it was certainly an interesting morning and discussion. I think certainly generated some food for thought for a lot of people. And we'll see if the ministry listens. I think that's the key to it in the end. And hopefully they do.
Well, I'll give you an exact example. One of the suggestions was push the province. School board should be doing asset management. They don't have to, right? So why wait until a school is in so need of dire repair that they close it, as instead of having an asset management plan? So
Yeah,
that
well,
was
they
interesting.
got to think ahead, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes council's only thinking 4-year increments, and
Yeah.
so do boards.
Yeah.
Boards used to think a lot longer because they never thought anybody would pay attention to their elections, but I think they are now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, thank you. Council Wells not here, so Iroquois District Business Group, no meeting. Morrisburg BIA.
Shannon is trying to set up a meeting for Wednesday? Wednesday evening.
Okay. South Nation Conservation.
No, I got a meeting this Thursday morning, and the AGM is April 16th, 21st, sorry. April 21st is their scheduled AGM, so.
In person or on Zoomy?
Well, the meeting this Thursday is virtual. I'm hoping we're gonna meet live for the AGM. I'll maybe find out, I guess, Thursday. Hopefully, we should be able to. I hope.
According to the Premier today, things are opening up, so
Yeah.
if things progress, of course, it's always subject to revision, and that's not a bad thing. It's just be nice to see.
I know they moved it back. It was supposed to be in March, and they moved it back to April, I think, thinking and hoping, maybe. So, yeah. Other than
Okay, that was a short and sweet one for you, thank you. Morrisburg Waterfront.
Tomorrow night.
Iroquois Waterfront had their meeting last week, I did not attend. We'll get their minutes in our next council package. South Branch. Carmen House.
No, not yet.
Dundas County Archives, no. Tourism Advisory Committee.
No.
Economic Development, we had our minutes. Anything further?
No.
The Doctor Advisory.
Well, we did meet with the minister. Shannon, did you get any correspondence following up?
So we did follow up with the associate minister from our delegation, still waiting on some feedback, but we'll continue to press them to see if we can have some further discussion on that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We'll move on to key information report in the Ontario draft regulations concerning the firefighter certification. Chief?
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as in my report in the background, before the last election, the Liberals had put in a Ontario reg to certify all firefighters across the province. Just after they lost the election, the PC governments came in due to some concerns from firefighters, fire chiefs, unions, that there was not enough time because they were only giving us 12 months to implement this regulation. The current government canceled it, but they gave us warning that it would come back at a later date. Well, the later date has come on January 18th. Solicitor Sylvia Jones announced to the fire chiefs that this plan was coming back. There is a reg that you have in front of you that's out for public consultation. It'll close February 28th. Again, under this new regulation, all firefighters across the province, whether you be career, paid on call, volunteer, would have to certify to the NFPA standards at certain levels. Those levels that need to be certified would be all firefighters, officers, apparatus, drivers, and operators, fire inspectors, instructors, safety officers, dispatchers, and then there's the technical rescue that would need to be done by July 1st. Again, we come to this because of loss of life during the 20 teens. There was some inquests that came forward, and out of those inquests, buildings were getting inspected without certified people or certified fire inspectors doing them. We've lost lives during training exercises where, again, the instructors or people in charge were not certified. So as in any code, in the fire code, the building code, when these things happen, things change. At this time, we are sending firefighters away to a regional training school in Lyndhurst. Costs right now for firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 costs us about $6,000 per firefighter. That does not include the hazmat, which we don't have a price on, but I'm going to guess it's probably going to be around $7,000. We do have about 22 firefighters right now in the fire department that will need to be certified. There is a small window of a new Ontario seal. That would be for firefighters that did not get grandfathered in the 2015 grandfathering blitz that went out. If at that time, if you had more than 5 years, had significant training in either being a firefighter or an officer or an instructor, you were grandfathered under the NFPA IFSAC or Pro Board, which manages all fire services across the world. That being said, there was a number at the time, but due to turnover and the way things are in the volunteer paid on call world that we live in, we have a lot of turnover. So there's about 22 firefighters right now that would certainly need to be certified. There's 8 to 10 that might fall under this new Ontario seal. The problem with the seal is if the firefighter goes that way at a later date, they want to become an officer, they would have to go back and start all over again from the beginning. We certify as firefighter 1, firefighter 2, hazmat. Then they would have to, it's a prerequisite to an officer's course. Now you need to take instructor 1 and then officer 1. So as long as they're willing to do that, they have the correct enough training, and we can prove that they have enough training, we will be applying for those measures for them, for those that fall under that. We do have a meeting this Saturday morning at the Iroquois Civic Center at 9:30. Council and all firefighters and the members of the SDFES have been invited, along with a member of the Ontario Fire Marshals, our local advisor, Scott Hayes. He will be attending. I'll be putting on a presentation to the group on this new upcoming regulation that we will now be falling under. It is important to know that this is still in draft. There may be some changes ahead, but as we've heard again today in my 6th WebEx or Zoom meetings, it's here to stay. The certification's not going to go away. There are 2 meetings for the mayors and CAOs. I'm sure the mayor and Shannon got the invitation for February 16 and February 18, whereas the Solicitor General and the Fire Marshal will be talking to mayors and CEOs on the upcoming certification. Again, all 3 parties, the Liberals, PCs, and the NDP, all support this new mandate. They believe it will save lives at the end of the day. Traditionally, over the last, since I've been in 1988, when I joined the, that time, Capital Fire Department, and my pager went off and I jumped in the truck. They threw a helmet, coat, boots, and a backpack on me, or SCBA on me, and that was the extent of my training. So it was kind of the wild, wild west mentality. We can't do that anymore. This is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world, and we need to protect our employees. 3 of the big questions that keep coming up at every meeting, as in I suppose you're thinking of, is number 1, every new hire will have to be on probation or some kind of for 2 years, 24 months. We will have to get them certified. That is one of the issues that keep coming up. Funding is another one. Will the government give us a one-time grant, an annual grant? Will they give us costs to attend the regional training schools? Just what that's going to be. And thirdly, the last one is, will the Ontario Fire College and the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office have enough people to make this happen? Because right now I can tell you they don't. They're going to have to put on quite a hiring spree to get enough instructors, proctors, test examiners under the roof of the OFM to get this done. I will try to answer any questions that council may have at this time.
Okay, thank you. Comments, questions, concerns? Councillor Mellon? I knew you'd be speechless.
And I had gotten word of this, well, they're making it hard to try and be a rural municipality with limited fire services and limited resources, financial resources to try and provide protection. But as Cameron over the years has been stressing, the training needs to be there, and we have been keeping up, and we have been doing, I think, a very good job. But now they've added one more level onto this. So I guess I'm planning on coming to that meeting on Saturday, and hopefully this doesn't discourage people from being on our volunteer or our part-time firefighter, and the men and women that are out there doing it. We need them, and there's going to be, I guess, that much more of a commitment or much more work, to try and get all certified up. And I guess we better find $200,000 or whatever's needed to get there, and let's lobby the hell out of somebody to see if we can't get some on a level of government somewhere. I mean, I think all the municipalities that are in our boots or in our position should maybe draft a resolution, and get it out there and get everybody signing on to this, because one squeaky wheel won't get a whole lot of attention maybe. But if you have however many rural municipalities and rural firefighting services that fall under our category or in our same boat, maybe we can get something as far as funding opportunities for this. That's all, Mayor.
Councillor Lewis?
I just hope that this doesn't start discouraging people that want to become a firefighter, because it's starting to sound like it's going to be a full-time position. With the education that you have to take and the certifications that you have to get. I just hope when it comes down the pipe that it's not discouraging, because there is good people out there that want to become firefighters, but I don't think they want to be sitting in the classroom day after day after day. And I know exactly where you're coming from, Chief. If you don't have the training and the education on certain things, you're putting your fellow people at risk. And I think that's all I have to say. Thanks, Mayor.
Mayor?
Thanks, Mayor. Cameron, do you know what the percentage is for the majority of these courses? What the percentage is for classroom training versus practical? Like for firefighter, obviously there's a huge practical component, but is there some of it that's theory before they do the practical?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, most of the courses are now blended. So you do the first 30 to 40 hours online, then you go to school for another 30 or 40 hours after that at the regional training school to finish the certification.
Okay. And is there any, because it's so new, this coming down, has there been any talk between your fellow fire chiefs within SDNG just to see if there's any, I don't know, this seems like a huge undertaking if they don't even have instructors. So I'm just wondering if there's been discussion amongst yourselves through SDNG to see if there's any any way there's collaboration or whatever. I don't think South Dundas should have to stand on its own necessarily. Like, is there, you know?
So again, through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, Deputy Mayor Gardner, we have been discussing this to see if there's any way we can do this as a group together as cost savings. I know that Cornwall is looking at bringing in a regional training school there, but we're about two years away from that. By the time they get their new building and structures in place. So I've got actually the chief and deputy chief from South Glengarry coming to speak to our group next month. They are doing a lot of this stuff already in-house. It takes about 6 to 8 months. Do it in-house, and but it's just another way to save some cost down the road. So it takes a little longer, yes,
Yeah.
but it is another plan that we are looking.
Yeah, that was my thought, only just with the magnitude and number of people that have to get certified, if there was some way to cut down on that accommodation, because if they're going away, it's different, right? You've got travel expenses and stuff. So good job. I'm glad you were looking at it. That's it for me, Mayor.
Okay. Well, I know we as council have always supported Chief in training, and training's important. I'm not saying this is over the top. It seems like it's going to be a lot of work for any member of our community to become part of our firefighting crew. It takes a lot of commitment to get the training, and I certainly hope that this doesn't really discourage them. However, I think Saturday's meeting is going to be interesting from a number of point of views, as I didn't know that we were having somebody from the fire marshal's office coming, so I'm glad that there's someone coming that the chief doesn't have to get all the hard questions that you can't really answer, but they need to hear from our firefighters too, because I'm sure some of them are going to be challenged with these new training requirements. I agree that with Deputy Mayor Gardner that working collaboratively with SGG or Cornwall or some sort of regional base. I know Lyndhurst isn't that far, and it works. However, this is a lot of stuff to do, and in really a short period of time. And as much as some of them will be sort of grandfathered in, any of the new ones will not be. And as the chief has alluded to, it's all come because people have died on work tragedies, and we don't want that to happen in South Dundas. I do not want to be a mayor that has to deal with firefighters that went into a scene that they weren't capable of dealing with, and then we deal with the consequences, and the consequences are more from a family point of view than anything else. So we'll see how Saturday goes. It's going to be interesting, and I certainly wish you luck, Chief, in getting all this lined up, because it's not going to be easy, and we're here to support you in any way. And maybe, as Councillor Mellon alluded to, if your neighboring chiefs feel that we need to go to the Ontario government for some for funding assistance because of this, then reach back out and we work as a group. South Dundas going there whining and crying is not going to make that different. It would take a collaboration of municipalities to make that work, and it's mainly the rural ones that, excuse me, that will be challenged because of it. So we'll see you on Saturday.
Thank you.
Anything further from any members of council? Okay, good, thank you. Key information report on Taylor Road Bridge update. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So in front of you tonight is a quick little KIR with more details that we've learned from Harold. This is a follow-up to the January 24th council meeting where questions were asked. So again, a question was posed at the January 24th council meeting on would it be beneficial to remove the bridge as it stands right now, if it would aid in the scope of work. I did follow up with Harold with that concern, and he said that he was waiting on response from Wendy Shear who is the cultural heritage specialist. Because of the age of the bridge, we wanted to entertain the heritage side of things. So her responses are below in italics. I will mention that Harold did say that he does not believe that the municipality would be in any trouble removing the timbered deck. However, it would be premature to remove any of the truss steel until we have heard back from the Ministry of the Heritage, Sports and Tourism. So at this point, neither the consultants or the municipal staff are clear on whether removing the bridge prior to ministry approval is acceptable or not. Therefore, we believe that we should just leave it in place until a firm answer is received at that time. Harold did offer further information concerning the bridge, that we can go with a 90-foot span, single span bridge, which would be more economical by at least 100,000 over the other configuration. He'll be working on the road design aspects, and he believes that a design will be ready to share by mid-March. With that correspondence, he did say that Acro Bridge has suggested that it may be advantageous to pre-order the bridge material. This makes it a single source, unfortunately, as there's not many companies in this line of work, and Acro bought Maybe Bridge, which was their only competitor for the bridges. So pre-purchasing eliminates the contractor markup and carrying costs and provides certainty of the supply and delivery for timelines. So I guess we're looking at direction from staff or from council on the pre-ordering aspect of things, and I can answer any other questions which you may have with the Taylor Road Bridge in its whole.
Okay, Jeff, I'm not sure yet to thank you or not, because I see Councilor Mellon over there, steam's rolling, and my steam's been already rolling once, and you probably won't have the answer, but I think the big a question that I have, and I'm sure Councilor Mellon is going to have, is why are we doing a heritage study on a bridge that's ready to fall into the river? Like, it hasn't got heritage status. Is there something in some sort of act that forces us to do this? Because it's a bit of a challenge and a stretch of how we're really looking at some historic value on a bridge that has done its useful life. It has maybe some unique features, but certainly isn't the prettiest thing in the world. I did reach out to our former deputy mayor, Locke, and see if he knew any history on the bridge, and he reached out to somebody that is over 80 years old, and that bridge has been there his full lifetime, so obviously it has the age that we've been all alluding to. But anyway, did you get any answers from Harold on those specific questions?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, and Shannon, I'll take a kick at this one there, and by all means, please jump in. So the heritage word came up because of the age of it. And Harold said that he would be remiss if he did not entertain the heritage aspect side of things in case somebody came knocking, asking, did we entertain it? Yes, it is old. Harold believes that this bridge was used before it even went to where it sits right now at Taylor Road. Now, with that being said, there could be parts of it which would need to be salvaged and put on display, which would identify the riveting, some of the stresses, some of the other key aspects of the bridge. It would be a very small portion of retaining the bridge and putting it on display somewhere in that area with a plaque commemorating the age of it and how it was built and the design of it. That's all that needs to be entertained as far as Harold believes to entertain the heritage aspect side of it. It's not significant in cost. It's just he wants to get the final approval before any removal is done, in case somebody does come back and say, well, did you salvage some of that bridge because just of the sheer age of it? That's where we're at right now, Mr. Mayor. And I will follow up. We did receive a pretty comprehensive report from Wendy outlining the significance of that bridge within rural South Dundas. And we will definitely share that report with council. But that's kind of the answer I'm getting right now.
Anything to add?
No, I think Jeff covers it all. I think at this time, as Jeff alluded to, we did get the report just late last week. I think the recommendation in that report right now is that we know we can't salvage the bridge. We can't put the bridge in any other location. The only recommendation based on the consultant is that, and awaiting MTO approval, is that we can salvage whatever we can from that. And as Jeff indicated, a plaque or something that would highlight the significance of the age of it all that would be required to proceed. So I believe there is, and we'll get clarification from Harold, but there is something under the MTO that requires you to do this heritage study, but we'll definitely get back to council on the process of that.
Okay, fair enough. It's a good thing we didn't even do that for the DeVries and 9 Mile when we took them out. Anyway, we'll just concentrate on the heritage aspect, and then we'll deal with the pre-order. So I must turn to Councillor Mellon this time before it blows up.
How did we go from finding out whether or not it's better for us to move the bridge out ourselves or have it under one contract? Now we got 2 ministers involved, and I can bet you dollars to donuts this is going to drag this crap out. All we want is a bridge. This heritage business, you could ask anybody back there, do you want to save a portion of that bridge? I could get some local boys to go out with some hacksaws and cutting torches, and we can get a chunk of steel and we can put it on a post somewhere. But as soon as I look at that Minister of Heritage, Sport and Tourism and Continuous Integrity, whatever that one is, it's just going to cause more headaches. We have until the 15th of March to get that out of there, and that's what I was hoping for. We got a month. We could get that bridge gone. After that, we can't touch it till June 30th, I think it is. So that just backed us up into the summer, and it just keeps backing up. So my personal opinion is we take that bridge out of there, we forget about the heritage status of that thing. We can get a chunk of steel off it and stick it on a fence post somewhere, if that's all it's gonna make, because this is just gonna cost us time and money if we go down that road. And if we can get away without doing that, I am just, I actually had to read that report twice, Mayor Bylaws. I thought I was hallucinating on Sunday morning. But anyway, to me, shelve that whole idea. That is just, that unless somebody's gonna stand there with a gun and say, you've gotta do this, if we can get around without doing this, I highly recommend we do it. Not do this, go ahead and do it without this. Yeah, just to me, that's just, you get different levels of government in there and bureaucracy, and we'll be late summer before somebody's gonna give us a stamp of approval on something. So that's my opinion, Mayor Byvells.
Yes, Shannon.
The only thing I will add through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Mellon is that we are still proceeding with tender. According to Harold, we're still ready to go tender probably by mid-March, as previously indicated. So this isn't stopping us from moving forward with that bridge. But Harold is back next week. We'll get some clarification. I don't disagree with you, as if we can satisfy by taking a piece of that bridge off and keeping it, and that will satisfy it, full steam ahead.
We're gonna run out of time, because if we're gonna hire somebody to get that thing out of there by March 15th, we got a month. We can contact.
Anyway, yeah, we understand.
I know, I'm gonna.
We know, I it's a good thing I didn't send you the full report. It may calm your fears of why it's such a nice and pretty bridge. Councillor Lewis.
Well, I definitely have to agree with my comrade across the way there. When you get heritage involved, oh my God, you're opening up a great big can of worms. Like, it's a bridge. And do the people back that way really care if there is a piece of the bridge with a sign on it? I have my doubts. Like, let's get the bridge out of there and let's start on a new one, because once the ministry gets involved with the turtles and the goldfish, she's going to be a long summer. And God only knows if we'll even get at it by then. Once, so that's how I look at it.
Yeah, Mayor?
I'll be honest, I was confused by this whole scenario when I saw that it was the Ministry of tourism and whatever. I've worked with that ministry, and they don't value the big old train that's located at Upper Canada Village that has a ton of history. So and actually is historically relevant, and folks love that train. So I'm really confused about the bridge. And I'm sensitive to heritage, but it wasn't even on my thing, because I see it as a piece of infrastructure that is more about safety and how our road network operates and that type of thing. So I was really confused by this. To be honest with you, had there been a group of residents that felt that this was necessary, then I would have made the contact. I don't think I would have even gone down there, because if they come back and say something, it could be it could definitely add some roadblocks. And unless we're going to do this for everything, it's just random. Like, it was just kind of a random thing, and I'm like, what are we doing? So I just no offense to that particular ministry, but I wouldn't necessarily trust them to determine what's historical and what's not. They'll probably come back and say it's got this value to it, but yeah, I was confused by the whole placement in this. Somewhat steamy confused, actually. I was kind of like, I don't know why we're doing this. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't disagree. I suspect our director doesn't disagree either. And to be honest, I think we just have to ask Carol the hard question of why we did go down the road. If we have to, we have to. I guess the key to dealing with infrastructure is you don't let it get too old, because then if it gets too old, it becomes heritage. Now, I'm also the mayor that took this old building and made something out of it. So, but I did have 2 engineers tell me I could do it. I also had a manager of parks and buildings that looked after me for it, so we're good. But I mean, there are times you can't resurrect crap. And, I looked at the report, they're talking about how it's riveted together and wasn't bolted together, and I'm thinking the Alexander Bridge in Ottawa is going to be being replaced, and they're going to have a hard time not taking it down. It's got some heritage, but it's still one piece. You can actually use it. You can drive across it today. The Champlain Bridge in Montreal didn't even last 50 years, and it was gone. They tore it down. Well, they're tearing it down as we speak probably and replace it with a multi-billion-dollar bridge. We're just trying to replace a bridge. Does it have heritage? Yes, it's old. It's one of the oldest bridges in South Dundas. I suspect that people felt attached to it till it fell apart and they can't use it anymore. And now all of a sudden, I can't feel very comfortable because now it's done. The 9 Mile looked like a pretty bridge too at one time. I remember going on the bridges across the South Nation, and they, the old Baldwin Bridge. Yeah. Remember that one? Yeah. They all had a classic way of how they put things together.
They were more sold than this one.
Yeah, we could have took the old Baldwin Bridge, put it there, it would have been all right.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. But anyway, I think, I don't know how fast Eddie would took that bridge down if they would literally just picked her up and put her on the side and do whatever. If we need to save a piece off it, tell them we need a piece off it. Give us a piece, whatever. I think we need some answers from Harold on this one. We're all at a quandary of why we went down this road. If there's a legit reason, fair enough. Not saying it's not an old bridge, but if it holds us back, we're not happy. And I don't think there's any member of council here that is against heritage. We just don't think it's the right time to deal with heritage on this piece of infrastructure. You have one thing to add before we go down the next road?
Yeah, the other comment too, I'm assuming there's always an expense to investigating this. There's staff time and there's a consultant time as well,
We
right?
we have a report,
And
so
it was
yes,
a
it's more
big-
money gone.
It was a big flipping number to begin with, so that, I think that was also part
Yeah.
of my steam.
And maybe he
was-
had to do it.
Yeah,
Maybe he
maybe.
had to do it.
Maybe.
Fair enough.
We'll get them to come back February 28th and provide council with
Okay.
more issues.
So the next question to council is the pre-order. Comments from your point of view?
Yep, so based on the discussion with Carol is that there was 2 competitors out there that sold this Acro type bridge. Acro actually bought out the other competitor. So he's indicating there's only one competitor out there that can sell us what it is, and if we can at least get that pre-ordered, it gets us in line to get it quicker. It cuts costs because we're not paying contractors markups or anything like that. So that's where we kind of wanted to go, get council's direction on moving forward with that so that we can get that pre-ordered and get that moving forward so that when we tender and we get everything ready to go, we've got the bridge that we need here on site.
Okay, so do you need an answer today? Or would you like a general answer today so you and staff can prepare a report on A, entertaining pre-ordering it, and B, if we pre-order it, and I don't have a problem with pre-ordering it off tender. Counties do it all the time on bridges. It actually works pretty good for the counties where they order in the concrete culverts or the concrete structures to replace the old culverts and then get a contractor to put it in. Because there's no markup on it, so it does help. So we could do that, and I like Harold's worked with the counties a lot. The thing is, my thinking head is that you need to consult with Treasury to make sure that or when it comes in, what are the terms of payment, because it's a little different now all of a sudden, and that's okay, but we need, if somebody comes in with, here's the bridge, where's the check? Or, we need 10% down or whatever. So I think you need to give us those kind of terms at a future council meeting to see how it works.
So why don't what I can do is get Harold to at least reach out to them, get a price of what it would cost for that, and we can bring that all back as one envelope on the 28th February when Harold's here. if that
Okay,
works.
so is council good with pre-ordering? Sure. It's on a separate, go ahead, Council Mellon, you're hesitating, and I understand that. Don't forget, it's a single, we're not really being competitive here, so we're
No.
challenged in that regard.
I know, and that's sole sourcing, but we're being told we got one source.
You only have one.
There's nobody else that, sole sourcing bothers us.
Maybe you can get Lock Welding and to put one together for us.
I'll run that by Gary tomorrow.
Well,
Okay.
and I think a fair point is, if we pull all this information together, we can bring it back at our next meeting with Harold here. And if you've got concerns or questions, Harold will be able to answer those better than we will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think because,
I think
we'll
the
get-
best thing to do is ask Harold to come back,
Yep.
even on Zoom, and we'll ask him those questions, because it is a challenge just ordering for one. I had that feeling that's the way we were going to go. It's no different than a lot of things we have to do, but we don't really have a choice here. We want to get a bridge in, we want to get it in the summer. This is the type of bridge we have. They are the only ones that make it. Then what are we going to do? We're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place in a way. Hopefully, they treat us respectfully. If in the end they don't treat us respectfully, then we'll have to go back to the drawing board, but I'm really, really hoping that they haven't taken advantage of the situation by buying out their competition and saying now we've got everybody. So, you good with Harold coming back on?
yeah, I think that's the best way because last time I was at Toronto was 3 years ago. I think there was only 2 or 3 at that Good Roads Convention at that time, and I guess maybe one of these guys.
Yeah.
This will be probably cheaper than us, building a bridge from scratch. But I mean, it's just, yeah, have Carol give us a report on this. I feel more comfortable on it.
I don't have an issue with pre-ordering, but where are we gonna put it when it gets here?
Sticks out. Yep. I said, I think we'll-
pre-order it and then make sure that they don't bring it till we have a
Timeline,
contractor on site.
Well, let's hope so.
You have to understand that we pre-ordered today, we may not get a bridge till September,
Yeah, that's true too.
okay?
Yeah.
You gotta understand, they gotta build it.
Yeah. I don't have
This
an
day
issue.
and age, we
Yeah.
know things are tight on the supply side.
Yeah, no, I don't have an issue with pre-ordering it.
Okay, so Jeff, can you ask Harold to come back at our next council meeting? You got a bunch of questions there to answer, and make sure he's prepared, and, no, we're not disrespecting him, we're just kind of challenged with some of those ideas, if you don't mind, please and thank you.
Will do, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for the next one is as council members, a while back, we had a citizen concern concerning the Smoke-Free Act and Ontario Act, and a concern of cannabis use on the front porch, and that was more a summer, fall thing, and now it's winter, it's probably not as much, but it doesn't matter, still a concern. We asked our MPP to look into it and do some work, and he came back and said, well, here's a petition, I'll present it when you fill it out, and my opinion is that's just a lot of work for us instead of him just doing the work he needs to do. So what's council's thoughts on that, Deputy Mayor?
Exactly what you said. Would the intent be with the petition that we would give it as an option to our resident that raised it as a concern to get the, like, what would be the process? So the resident would have to take ownership of it and get the signatures, correct?
I would say so, yeah.
I mean, we can have that initial discussion. She sounds fired up enough to maybe do that. I probably would have done more work if I was a member of parliament than just handing over the petition, but whatever. Like, you can petition anything, right? There needs to be some background and context would have been nice about the specific issue, that type of thing. And should the resident do a dual petition for the feds as well?
No, it's an Ontario thing.
It's an Ontario Act?
Yeah,
Okay, so.
you don't need to get the feds in
Yeah,
this.
no, I just meant the legalization of cannabis, because that's
No,
connected.
it's more the urchins after.
Okay, so yeah, I guess the resident will do all the work, I guess. Kind of a sad state of affairs, I don't know what else to say.
Okay, Councillor Lewis?
The only thing I have to say is thank you very much, Mr. McMinnell, for all your hard work. And that's where I'm leaving it.
Got a little sarcastic, Councillor Mellon.
It's sort of a shame, I mean, 5 of us sit here and we work for the residents, and try and, help the residents when we can, where we can, and the next level up doesn't seem to put as much effort into that as we do. So, I guess if the individual has to get the petition going, it's sort of sad that, our local MP won't, MPP won't, take this and run with it a little bit, or, sort of like my colleague, I don't know what to say, yourself, Mayor, I don't know.
Okay, well, fair enough. This was never relayed to our citizen, right? So can you send me the report on its own, and I'll communicate it to her and start the process and see what she wants to do, and then we'll go from there.
Isn't there a minimum too before he can even bring it in? Like, she's gonna need a minimum, I believe there's a minimum signature thing, and it's not 50 people, isn't it? Like 500 or 1,000 or something?
Well, anyway, let's see where it goes. I know it's not easy, but anyway, I'm a bit disappointed, and I know they have a lot more things to think about right now than this, but the world doesn't stop, and when a single person wants it, there's usually another pile of people who think the same way. So most of the time, not all the time, but Okay, I'll work with our clerk and send it to her. It may not be a pretty discussion, but it has to be done. Okay, CN rail and drainage draft letter. Shannon?
Council, so at our last meeting in regards to AMO resolution, Councillor Mellon requested that we bring this back in regards to supporting a resolution to CN when it comes to municipal drains. So there is a draft letter in there tonight for council for discussion and direction at that time.
Okay, Councillor Mellon?
Yeah, thanks to council and the staff for putting this in short order and getting it on the agenda and bringing it out with this draft. I totally support this, as I made some correspondence back and forth today about whether or not CP is sort of does the same type of policy, you know, because let's face it, CP and CN run through, you know, the more populated portions of our province, but it's also the best farmland in the province, and we've had some issues, I think, right from when I was first on council 11 years ago on Marine Station Road, where we were limited to what we could do as far as drainage up there, and it was restricted because of the culvert going under CN line, and they don't really care. And, you know, them not paying their fair assessment. Do they pay any assessment on municipal drains?
I believe they do, yes.
They pay some?
Yes.
Well, I mean, you know, they should be treated like everybody else. So, I mean, I'm glad that we're doing this. I just sort of wonder if maybe we should include the CP rail in this, just so that we have, and then it's sent out to all the municipalities, so we get, you know, as much bang for our buck, and we cover a larger geographical area, and we get enough, get more other municipalities, you know, to support this, and you know, work towards resolving the issues of, you know, problems with assessment or problems with deepening drains, or when you can't deepen drains for, you know, not just for farmers, but for, you know, residences and roads and the whole bit. So that would be my only suggestion, Mayor Bylaws, if we maybe send maybe another draft letter to CP Rail, or include them in this one, you know, CNCP, and send it out to them, and then send it out to other municipalities throughout Ontario to, you know, try and get more support.
So my question is that the concerns were mainly CN concerns, not general railway concerns.
No.
That was AMOs.
Yeah, it came through AMO, it was just specific to CN.
Okay. So I'm going to suggest we concentrate on CN right now, because possibly if CP was a problem, they would have said so too, and it was just general railways. The only other option we have is reach out to North Dundas and North Stormont and North Glengarry to see if they have any issues with the CP line. I have never heard, they'd have more issues than we would with the CN line here, because for the most part, the CN line runs through a bunch of bush, and Marine Station Road was our issue, and there's probably a few others. The Dorn Creek drain is certainly on CN, because that's the one that goes along 401 and then meanders into Dorn Creek. So let's concentrate on CN as AMO was requested, and we'll see where it goes from there. I think CN's probably the one that's been fighting it hardest. Why, I don't know, but.
Yeah, well, I can support that, Mayor Bylaws. I reached out very late, and I apologize to that. Didn't give staff really enough time, and maybe that's something they can look into, just touch base with our counterparts to the north of us and see if they have issues with CP. No sense rattling CP's chain if they're playing nice.
Yeah, that's my concern.
Yeah.
So why don't we concentrate on this one, send it out?
Will do.
Okay, do you have a resolution for us? Go ahead then, please.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas authorize the Mayor to send a letter expressing support for the Ontario Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs request to have CN Rail pay costs as assessed under the Drainage Act.
Any other further discussions? All heard motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
South Nation Conservation Community free tree pickups.
Similar to last year, the municipality did proceed with the $500 grant with South Nation where we did provide trees in all various areas of the community. We're looking for this year if council wants to continue for 2022. We did not put any additional trees in the budget for this year, so it'll be just whatever South Nation provides us in that grant. So looking for some direction from council.
Sounds like good to me.
Yeah, I think the citizens look for trees, and yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
I mean, yeah, we're gonna get the initial $500 worth. You're wanting to know if we want to put another 500 in, or just stay with the 500?
We didn't put that in the budget now. Come on now,
Right.
Councilor Mellon. We didn't put it in the budget.
I know, that's what I was thinking. I think
He's gonna look for money
Yeah.
now.
So through you, Mayor Bylaws, to Councilor Mellon. So last year was the year that we did not put in additional 500. The year before we did the thing. So if council wants to look at putting another 500, it's not budgeted this year. We'd have to have it come out of somewhere else.
No, I'm good with what we got in the budget, and I think there's gonna be, well, as they're indicating that there's gonna be maybe a, I don't know if you could get actually any more, because I think they're reaching out. I read some of the agenda for South Nation Thursday's meeting, and I think they're using 3 nurseries now, Ferguson and 2 from, I guess, Western Ontario somewhere. So whether or not there's, right now, I think all they can get you is potted plants or potted trees, whatever. I guess they're bigger. I don't know what they are. I'm not a tree person. But yeah.
And you're on South Nation
I
Conservation.
realized as soon as I said that. But yeah, so anyways, I'm good with just leaving it with the 500, same as we had last year.
Okay.
I would encourage any residents to reach out to South Nation if they want, maybe to go down, extra trees. They can get them at basically cost back there, but go through Finch office.
Okay.
Go that way.
Okay. So we agree to the free tree days, and I guess the next question eventually will be when and where.
Well, we'll work with our communication officer on how to look at days. I believe last year it was around May, I thought, or somewhere
Yeah,
around
it's
there.
usually,
And
yeah,
council, I
it's
think,
gonna
what-
depend on when they get their trees.
Correct, yeah, and I believe council were at certain locations and we're handing them out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So the Historical Society has an event request.
Yeah, so just for council's direction, they are looking at holding an event later on this year. Probably looking for more of a footprint than what is currently at the Forward House. So looking for some direction from council and approval so that we can work with the group on the logistics.
The mayor?
Yeah, sure.
Councilor Lewis?
I don't have an issue as long as it don't cost us money.
Okay, well, then staff can work with them, I'm not sure where the campground is at that time and if their campers are there, but they're gonna have to work around them too, so. I'm assuming that they want it around the Forward House, so there's a limited space there.
Yep. The other thing I'll add too is that they'll be required to get additional insurance because there is insurance for the building itself, but for holding a special event like this, they'll require something on top of that.
Okay, well, they do have an insurance provider as
Yes.
a Historic Society, so they should be able to do that. Okay,
Okay.
so I asked the petition that came from the United Counties, Stormont, Dundas, Glengarry, and that's on page 171, because I'm finally getting smart and writing this down as I roll along. So this resolution was passed at County Council last time concerning a project that GFL and Environmental in Moose Creek is wanting to do. As many in council know, they are a large waste handling site just off the 138 here, the 417. They want to build a renewable natural gas plant on site. They're willing to invest the $60 million along with a bunch of other investments, including greenhouse and abattoir and whatnot, according to the report that's within our package. They're asking the government to put $30 million into the pot for the Enbridge line that has to hook into the main line. I know that Mayor Wirt is a big proponent of this plan. I think And I have to fully agree with them that this is something that is good for Eastern Ontario, it's good for the counties, and it may end up being good for South Dundas, because in the end, we can have a transfer station, but all that stuff's gotta go somewhere, and if GFL has a state-of-the-art facility up there that reclaim at least the methane that comes off the refuge that they put into the landfill site, then at least we're getting something back. Somebody is getting something back out of it. You know, and if it helps their bottom line, then it may help everybody's bottom line, but to get started, this is not a project they can do on their own. They need some government assistance, whether it comes from the province or through the federal government, through some of their green energy plans. I think it's something that, as a project, the county supported it, and I think I would encourage this council to support it at South Dundas to give them some additional support. As I said, we may end up needing their services down the road someday, and it may make us feel good about putting stuff into a hole in the ground. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I support it. Counties, I'll support it here.
I was being a little
It'd be weird
facetious
if
with
I-
that one, eh? Because you always say we're putting stuff in a hole, but you know, there might be a point to putting stuff in a hole.
Well, you know, it creates jobs, it creates everything that's listed in there, and we are close enough to benefit. So I think, yeah, I think it's a great project.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with supporting this.
Councilor Mellon?
Yeah, let's face it, the government's gotta, step up. We're doing our part and trying to be more frugal on how we handle our garbage, and, this is the time for the province or the feds to step up and put their money where their mouth is and say, yes, we, support that. And so, yeah, I think this is a good project for Eastern Ontario, SDNG, and South Dundas. Investment.
And I know that there's a large farm operation in South Dundas that is looking at doing an RNG project on farm, so it'd be rather silly of us not to support this, and we may end up having to support them too. And it's, it's not from a dollar point of view, just us as a municipal government supporting a project that makes sense for Eastern Ontario and for all Ontario and Canada. And one thing we always have to remember in South Dundas that, if we do something good here, it does help the big picture at the counties, because the counties do collect taxes on this kind of stuff too. So, and that helps us with roads and everything else from the county point of view. You have a motion ready?
Moved by Councillor Lewis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that the municipality of South Dundas endorse the resolution of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry in their support for GFL Environmental Incorporated's proposal, and request that Ontario and Canada fully support this innovative proposal.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you. So next I pulled the key information report on the backyard chicken plan update. I just felt Peter was here tonight, and for him to give us an update on this project would be a good thing. I know we're not passing it tonight, but I think there's some mixed feelings on how this is all going to roll out. So, Peter?
Thank you, Mayor Bylaws and Council. So as Council knows, there's been a couple of meetings where potentially doing a pilot project for backyard chickens has been discussed. So following the last couple meetings in March and September, we developed a consultation plan. So to do a survey, both online with some paper copies at the municipal office and potentially other locations, depending on input from Kaylin and others, and having a public meeting in March, at the end of March, hopefully. We put in from some of the previous discussions the draft proposal that would be subject to input from the public as well. And then we'd hopefully have a final bylaw this spring, and if approved, have a 18-month temporary use bylaw, and then come back to council to reevaluate and see how it went.
Okay. I appreciate that, Peter. I just wanted to make sure that, we're going down a road that's a little different for us, which is okay. But I wanted to make sure that, council is still good with where we were going. I'm all right. There's enough public consultation. There's enough rules. I want to make sure if people are going to have chickens that A, they have enough space to do so, and B, know how to do it. It's not quite as easy as everybody thinks, because they can have a bunch of chickens in the backyard and they'll have eggs for life, but they're just like any other pet. They need some work. Any comments on proposals so far?
I'm with you, Mayor. I like the public consultation. In discussions around this, I'm the type of person, chickens aren't really my thing, but if it was my thing, I'd be one of the people that could probably manage this, not a problem. My neighbors would still love me and everything would be great. But I like the fact that we're willing to at least have the discussion and get some feedback. I think that's important. I think it's important to have communities, and that's one of the things I love about South Dundas and have really enjoyed with this council is we've been willing to kind of open the discussion, get some feedback, and instead of an automatic no. So I'm and who knows, maybe I'll get some chickens as part of the bylaw. No, I'm too busy, but
Chuck can look after them.
Yeah.
Councillor Lewis.
No, I think there's enough rules and regulations here, and if anybody has any respect for their neighbors, they're not going to leave their chickens run around in the backyard free anyways. If they do, then I guess they don't deserve to have chickens. And Mayor, when this was first brought to the table, I didn't have a problem with it, and I still don't have a problem with it. Now, I'm not going to go out and get 5 chickens, but
I wouldn't recommend it where you live.
no. I don't think the landlord would like it.
A little tight. Yeah.
No, I'm good with this.
It's kind of smelling. You got lots of room for chickens back there. You got a whole barn.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to reach out through a survey to the public, and we put our 2 cents worth in, and subject to input from council and the public, initial pilot project bylaw would allow for 18-month temporary use bylaw for the evaluation period. I think that's going to be the most important aspect of this whole thing. Trust me, we're going to hear about it in about 19 months, but it gives, I guess, we're not making a bylaw iron and stone. We'll evaluate this and see how it goes. I mean, some people can have chickens and, their neighbors like them, and, they can wander around and peck at the ground and eat the bird seed and stuff. So, it's good that way. So, we'll see how it goes. I'm not totally sold on it, but, I'm good with it.
Well, I'll continue to have my reservations on how all this works, but as Councilor Mellon alluded to, the neighbors got to like it. There's places that chicken work well, and there's places that chickens won't work. And I'm still fascinated by people who think they have to have a bunch of chickens in their backyard to have eggs, because I can go to the grocery store anytime and get a bunch, and we have farmers that are professionally doing it, but I guess that's just me as being a professional farmer that some of the sayings out there go, if farming was easy, everybody would be doing it, and in the end it's not, and it's a lot of work. But if people are willing to work, and Deputy Mayor Gardner says, we can't be always saying no, I think this is a good plan that at least gives us an idea of what can go on in South Dundas. As I said, places they can work well, places they don't work well. I don't want, right now what we land up is, that somebody has a few chickens in their backyard, and all they do is cheese off neighbors, and all of a sudden bylaw gets a call and there's chickens in the backyard at their neighbor, we want them gone, and we have to deal with them. So maybe we have to set the rules up, and you either can have chickens in South Dundas or you can't. And as I said, there are places it works well, and there's places it's probably not going to work well, but having a set of rules to guide people will be certainly a great start. Anything further? Okay, thanks, Peter. We'll look forward to reporting the 28th of March.
Thank you, Mayor.
Key information report in the Stewart Drive Park. Yep, Mayor.
Mayor Byveld. So, interestingly enough, after when I came back, I was away on the weekend and came back, and I was looking through this. And I do have a couple of questions, especially whenever I see how fast Swank is going on their houses and stuff like that. When I saw the pictures of, I guess we borrowed them from another township. Are we putting in the swings with the hope that we're going to expand stuff? Are we, like, I just find it really piecemeal if we're going to expand that park. And I think I raised that when we had the discussion. So, you know, one of the questions I'm glad to see Austin on is, what's the lifespan of the play structure, and why are we only using 1/4 of that park? Like, why are we shoving everything in the back? Like, what? It seems really piecemeal to me whenever we have all these houses going up, and that's going to be that's going to be the park where those kids are going to be able to walk to. So I just wanted some clarification. I think that we need to look at the bigger plan with this. And I
Okay.
do notice that we do reference COVID quite a bit, and for me, these solutions need to be non-COVID related. They need to be something that is going to happen anyway. I understand obviously more people are spending time outside, but kids like play structure. So I don't know, Austin, if you can comment on that. I just was a little underwhelmed by kind of the plan, so.
Go ahead, Austin, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this report is just to provide Council with a little bit further insight on any potential expansions or upgrades to Stewart Drive Park. At the 2022 budget deliberations, it was requested that staff bring back a little more information on any potential impacts replacing the existing swing set would have, and future considerations with replacing the play structure itself. So with that being said, staff reached out to a supplier just to receive confirmation that by replacing the existing swing set in 2022, the municipality wouldn't face any future implications or have any issues with replacing the play structure itself in the future, obviously as Dutch Meadows continues to grow. To your point, Deputy Mayor Gardner, about using the back third of the park, the layouts that were provided in the attachments of the report were just for Council's reference. For future considerations, those weren't exact replicas of what staff are proposing we install, but just for Council's reference as far as an idea of what could potentially be installed in that park in the future.
So if you were going to say 10 years, say 5 years from now, so you put the swing set back where you replace the swing set where it's located, but you sense that you need a larger play structure. Like just whenever I look at it, I'm looking at it going, if you're going to at some point make the play structure maybe a little bit more or add elements to it. On our way to Algonquin, we went through very small little towns, and some of them have made these play structure things in the center of the town with rock climbing walls and stuff. Like very rarely do you just see one little play structure and a swing set, especially if we're going to have the growth in Dutch Meadows. And I'll say it again, on Stewart Drive, we've had some young families move in. So I saw it at Christmas time. There's definitely a little bit of a shift in folks that are buying those houses. There's young families with kids stuff all over the place. So I'm wondering if we have a bigger plan for it. And I don't know. I just, like I said, when I looked at it, I wasn't understanding was the concept to then put the matching play structure in. It was just, not that I was confused, but just felt it very piecemeal. So, sorry, Mayor, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I just had some concerns.
Well, I will say this, I understand that, we need to replace the swing set that's there. It's beyond what it should be. But I think Council had mentioned about having some vision on what we're going to do with that park long-term, and maybe long-term is the wrong word, maybe medium-term. The catchment area for that park, you know, not only is currently Stewart, you have Fairholme on the back end that has a bridge there that accesses it to, and have young families there. And then you have the large potential of Dutch Meadows down the road. So my thoughts on that is that once you get enough of a core base of families there, is that we don't make the decision totally on what's there. We allow some residential input, because that gives them some ownership and makes them feel like that they're part of it. And it's not like what the Lions have done down here. And it's not a bad idea for every one of our structures to a point, because budget is budget. You can say, well, we can, you know, we've got X number of dollars, we can do this. If you want more, maybe the community has to pay more or whatever. But you know, this is your basic structure, but down the road they may want more, and you got to make sure you plan accordingly, so you don't. It's just like, you know, us on the farm when we build a grain handling facility. Some of us do it the stupid way, where they build the first 13-footer in the middle of the place, and then wish you didn't build it there, because you want to build the 36-footers in there, and then you work around it and you make it do what you do. But you know, someday down the road, you got enough area to do more. So keep that in mind as you build, and you know, it won't be this year, it may not be next year, but I suspect within 4 years, things are going to be swinging there in more ways than one, and then you can perhaps get some localized input and you know, come up with maybe not a grandiose plan, but a plan that works for them within our budget capabilities.
It doesn't have to be big dollars, but I mean, even trees, you know, should you plant a couple more trees? You know, when you see the overview, you're kind of looking at it, you know, benches, that type of thing. I know the benches, my daughter likes going there, and the benches are against the property line on the back, and you know what I mean? Like, maybe you move the benches around, that type of thing. I think that's it's not, Austin, it's not that. I think your intent was really good, but I'd just like to see more of a, you know, even if you did stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, to be honest with you, I know we were budgeted to replace the swing set, but you know, you held off on the swing set. You know what I mean? Like, there needs to be more of a thing, because that park will get used, and the mayor's correct. I mean, even Fairholme, the houses that have gone up for sale and been purchased, they're by families. And that area, when we moved in, was 90% retired. So, not retired, but the kids had left. So there wasn't a lot of young kids.
Empty nesters.
Yeah, there you go. So there wasn't a lot of young kids, and there is now. So, you know, I just, I think, and like I said, the Dutch Meadow conversation today proves the fact that we need to focus, because they don't have a park in there, correct?
No, this is the park.
Exactly. This is the park for 400 houses. So.
Not quite that many.
Okay. Well, say 300. I don't know, roughly.
No, it was 100,
Isn't it
120 units.
That's still a lot of kids.
Can't have a lot of kids. I just want to bring it
It's the
back.
end of the meeting, but you know what I mean. Like
There's a few more in the high rent
Yeah.
apartment buildings, but I suspect they won't be family units there.
It's
They'll be
no
more
longer
retired.
for the 20 kids that probably lived on Stewart Drive whenever the park was built, is what I'm trying to say.
So I think we're just asking you, you know, keep in mind the long term when you replace these swings and where this could potentially go to. We didn't, you know, we do have some money that's come from Dutch Meadow, from Swanks eventually. So, you know, that's part and parcel of it. Like, we all know they're expensive, right, Councillor Lewis?
Oh, yes.
Because there was and I don't know how much money they spent, because they changed the play structure in my grandchildren's place. But they also redid the paths. They didn't redo the paths, but did all the new lighting and all the LED. The number they had on the sign was $4.1 million. That's in the city. So that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Very nice play structure. And I'll guarantee there's probably, looking at it, knowing what we spend, 100, maybe 150 grand plastic and steel sitting there, but it's beautiful. Kids love it. So it's just, I know that when we did the structure out there, we didn't do it. You know, the Lions and Domenko and McCooey and that group did that structure out there, and they got the community buy-in. How did they do that? They invited the kids to design. They told them, this is what we can do for you. What do you think? And it really worked well because it got that community buy-in. The community built it. It was, you know, we all went back there and shoveled whatever. Those kind of things bond communities. They have that, it's that sense of ownership. They will start looking after it. They will actually watch it. We don't need, you know, as much people surveying, because people say, you know, I see you touch it, you're in trouble because I'm going to be watching, and that kind of, you know, because they're always, you know, vandalism is pretty easy on a structure like that. They're right there. So
We had that at the Youth Advisory Committee. Some of the teenagers that were kids, when that, they call it the blue play structure, was put in, they talked about having a say in it, and that's why they wanted to be on the Youth Advisory Committee, because they had already kind of had that feeling for it. The other quick thing I will say with play structures is people will look and say, oh, that park's not being used. If it's just a ho-hum, humdrum kind of thing, you kind of have to look at the big thing, all the play structures, and make them all a little different. Not bigger, not more expensive, just different. I mean, one of my favorite play structures is at Woodlands Beach, and it's all trees. There's like this big tree that you climb in. It looks like it's got little bees and stuff like that. It's very different than the other ones. So you just kind of a broader picture, that's all. Not to nitpick, but I mean, you want to make a difference. I want to see kids there, and if it's lackluster, why wouldn't you go to the big blue park, as my daughter calls it, right? So.
Dig. Shannon?
I think the one thing that I'll add is, you know, when we originally went down the looking at the parkland reserve versus putting a park at Dutch Meadows, I think we recognize the fact that we would have to probably invest that money into this park just because you're adding more people into it, right? So I think we'll look at that as far as making sure that we plan for the future and that we expand. And I think I agree with the mayor's point is, you know, maybe at that time, 3-4 years from now, when it's phase 2, when Swanks pay that parkland, becomes a community project, right?
Yeah.
Where we leverage our funds, and maybe the community comes up with another $50,000, and we have put a $100,000 park in there, right? So I think that's where I think we need to go down as far as future planning.
And I would even look at placement, because if you drive by super quick, you don't even know anything's there. When the tree is fully leaved, you won't even really, you know what I mean? Like, you don't even know it's a park, is what I'm saying, so.
Yeah. Comments?
No, I guess, you know, what I'm seeing here is the positioning of the new swing set where the old swing set is, and allow, hopefully, for some growth down the road. And the deputy mayor's point, I somewhat agree, but I also don't agree, because you look at the Brinston Park back there, and to the contribution of the Alt family, you know, they got one heck of a park.
Yeah.
And, you know, beautiful. And it's not all just young families. I'm taking my grandkids there, or my wife,
Yeah.
and your point is very well taken. There's gonna be young families moving into Stewart, but, you know, there could be older generations coming into
Oh, my
Dutch
next
Meadows,
door neighbors.
and they're gonna take their grandkids, and boy, if you wanna hear something from somebody, it won't be the mamas and it won't be the papas, it'll be the grandmas and the grandpas. If they don't like a swing set, they're gonna let you know about it. So, I've already heard about it. Why don't you guys do, well, I won't, anyway, from my own perspective, yeah. But, so, yeah, I mean, let's give us room to grow, and I mean, you know, the kids, whether they're, well, there's some fathers taking their kids there, like, or grandparents taking their kids there. I mean, the park will get used.
Councillor Lewis, specialist in parks at one time.
Yeah. Well, I think what you have to say about Stewart Drive, that park was put in whenever they first put the road in. So that park's been there for a long time. Mm-hmm. And when it was designed, this is where the playground equipment is going to go. Yeah, you know. And I know that play structure that's there right now, it costs $16,000 to put it in. And you look at it and you say, whoa, that's a lot of money for what's there. But you want it, you pay for it. Will it grow? Oh, most definitely it'll grow. It just depends on what you want to put there. I think that play structure in Princeton was somewhere around 60 grand.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, you know, and that's a nice play structure. So, but as I said, if you want play structure, you're going to pay for what you get.
Well, fair enough. The blue structure down there was over 100 grand, if I
Yeah.
remember right. So
Yeah.
and that's a number of years ago now. So no criticism, Austin. We just want you to think ahead and make sure you're thinking ahead. And if you are, that's great. But you know, those are some of the possibilities that we recognize, and sometimes all of us get caught in the moment of the time. But thinking ahead, I found in my business career has always paid dividends down the road, because you think back, so why didn't we do that a long time ago? And this area will certainly have a lot of potential, I think, down the road. So, any further last comments? You good? Okay. Do a lot of nodding. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. No notices of motion tonight, Madam Clerk? Okay, we've done our closed session, so ratification bylaw, please.
Sure. Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that bylaw number 2022-23, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
All heard in motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. So before I call the clerk to read the last motion, I'd like to thank council for their work tonight. I'd like to thank all staff, whether they're here or virtually, for all their reports and work. And I'd like to thank the audience for watching Democracy in Action in South Dundas. Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that council now adjourn at 8:28 to meet again at the call of the chair.
All heard in motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you very